there was some confusion over the quadratic factors, and so I was going to explain those a little bit. So this doesn't matter if it's in the numerator for a quadratic 0 or in the denominator for a quadratic pole. They will both have this form, namely the omega term is squared. And you can find the damping factor from the expression by putting it in this form. I'm using the Greek letter zeta instead of c just because it's slightly easier to write. So the zeta is a thing that kind of looks like a 5. It's this letter right here. And you can always get your quadratic factor in this form. So it doesn't matter what it looks like to start off with. But let's start with one that looks like this, so you can just read off of it. So let's say I had 1 plus 4j omega over 3 plus j omega over 3 squared. Okay, so this one, it is easy to see that omega c is 3, and that our damping factor right here, so we've got 4j equals 2 zeta j. So I just set this coefficient equal to that. Divide both sides by j, divide both sides by 2, and I get that zeta equals 2. Although our damping factors are supposed to be between 0 and 1, so I didn't pick a good example here, but it's still the same idea works. Okay, so let's say that we had something that looked like this. Okay, so let's say this is what it looked like. Okay, so I want to start with, I know that this is supposed to be in the form 1 plus 2 zeta j omega over omega c plus j omega over omega c squared. So I know that j omega over omega c squared has to equal minus omega squared over 100. So now if I square both sides over here, I get minus omega squared over omega c squared equals minus omega squared over 100, and I get that omega c equals 10. Okay, so what does that mean? So now I set this equal to this. So j omega over 5 equals 2 zeta, that's a terrible zeta, 2 zeta j omega over omega c, which I know is 10. So j omega over 5 equals, so I've got 2 zeta j over 10. The 2 can cancel with the 10, and I have 5. So I can cancel j from both sides. I had an omega over here too. Let me write that a little neater. So j omega over 5 equals zeta j omega over 5. Well, from here, it's clear that j omega has to equal zeta j omega. Divide both sides by j omega, and 1 equals zeta. Okay, one more example. I'm just completely making this up. About 10 plus j omega plus minus 2 omega squared. Alright, so I need to factor out a 10 because I have to have a 1. That's 1 plus, and now I would do, to get my, what this will be j omega over 10 minus 2 omega squared over 10. Okay, so minus 2 omega squared over 10 has to equal j omega squared, j omega over omega c squared. So minus 2 omega squared over 10 has to equal j squared is minus 1 omega squared over omega c squared. So the minuses cancel. I could reduce this, omega squared over 5 equals omega squared over omega c squared. And then from that I can see that 5 equals omega c squared, or omega c equals the square root of 5. Now that I know that omega c equals the square root of 5, I'll take j omega 10 equals 2 zeta j omega over omega c. J omega over 10 equals 2 zeta j omega over the square root of 5. The j omegas cancel. 1 over 10 equals 2 over the square root of 5 zeta. Zeta equals 1 over 10 times the square root of 5 over 2. Zeta equals the square root of 5 over